Thank you. It's my pleasure today to be here presenting this data on behalf of all my co-investigators. I'll plan to present the primary results of the Gadolin study, which is a phase 3 study comparing Obinutuzumab plus bendamustine, followed by Obinutuzumab maintenance, compared with bendamustine alone in patients with rituximab refractory indolent non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So indolent non-Hodgkin lymphomas continue to be incurable with standard available therapies. Over the last decade, the addition of rituximab to chemotherapy has resulted in a significant improvement in outcomes, with both an improvement in progression-free survival and overall survival seen for these patients. However, patients who are rituximab refractory, so those who have been shown either to not respond to rituximab or who relapse early after having received a rituximab therapy, have a relatively poor outcome and limited treatment options. So in this setting, bendamustine, a standard chemotherapy drug, has been used, but unfortunately it's associated with a relatively brief remission period, on average between 7 to 9 months. So the Gadolin study was designed to assess whether the addition of a novel anti-CD20 monoclonal antibody, Obinutuzumab, to the bendamustine backbone, followed by Obinutuzumab maintenance, could benefit patients with rituximab refractory indolent lymphoma. Obinutuzumab is a novel anti-CD20 monoclonal antibody, also targeting CD20, comparable to rituximab, although it's been engineered to have potentially higher efficacy, as it's been shown to induce a higher rate of direct cell death, as well as a higher cellular immune response against lymphoma cells compared to rituximab. And in early clinical trials, Obinutuzumab has been shown to be beneficial in rituximab refractory patients, and it's also been shown to be effective when added together with bendamustine. This is a study design. So the study intended to enroll approximately 400 patients with rituximab refractory indolent non-Hodgkin lymphoma. This included patients with follicular lymphoma, marginal zone lymphoma, and small lymphocytic lymphoma. Patients were randomized in a 1-to-1 fashion to receive either bendamustine alone or the combination of Obinutuzumab and bendamustine, followed by Obinutuzumab maintenance. In the single-agent arm, bendamustine was dosed at the standard dose used for single-agent therapy, which was 120 milligrams per meter squared on days 1 and 2 of a 28-day cycle, and patients could receive up to 6 cycles of therapy. In the combination arm, bendamustine was dosed according to the dose that's most frequently used when it's combined with a monoclonal antibody, which is 90 milligrams per meter squared. The Obinutuzumab was dosed at the standard schedule of 1,000 milligram flat dose, administered on days 1, 8, and 15 of cycle 1, and subsequently 1 dose with every cycle of chemotherapy. Patients showing benefit were then able to go on to receive Obinutuzumab maintenance, which was administered as 1 dose every 2 months for up to 2 years. So the primary endpoint of the trial was progression-free survival as determined by an independent radiology facility. Secondary endpoints included progression-free survival as assessed by investigators, response rates, duration of response, pharmacokinetic parameters, and importantly, safety profile. You can see that at the bottom, the clinical characteristics of patients were comparable between the two arms. The median age was 63 years, and in keeping with what is typically seen in clinical care of indolent non-Hodgkin lymphoma patients. Importantly, these patients showed a high level of treatment resistance. They had received 2 median prior lines of therapy, and over 90% of patients in each arm had been designated refractory to their last treatment. So following a planned interim analysis after 170 events were observed, the Independent Data Monitoring Committee recommended that the trial be closed because it had met its primary endpoint. The primary endpoint was progression-free survival as determined by the independent radiology facility, and it demonstrated that patients receiving the combination of obinutuzumab and bendamustine had a significantly improved progression-free survival compared with those receiving bendamustine alone. With a median follow-up of just over 20 months, the median progression-free survival in the bendamustine arm was approximately 14.9 months, but had not yet been reached in the combination arm. The hazard ratio was 0.55, indicating a 45% reduction in the rate of progression with the combination therapy. The progression-free survival, as assessed by investigators, was also similar. So the median progression-free survival in the bendamustine-only arm was 14 months and was over 29 months in the combination arm, indicating a doubling in progression-free survival. Importantly, safety was comparable between the two arms, so there were no differences noted in adverse events, serious adverse events, high-grade toxicities, deaths, or withdrawal from therapy in either arm. And also important, no new safety signals were noted, so the toxicity was as expected for the individual drugs included. So to summarize, the combination of obinutuzumab and bendamustine, followed by obinutuzumab maintenance, resulted in a statistically significant, but more importantly, a clinically meaningful increase in progression-free survival compared with bendamustine alone. This study is remarkable because it does demonstrate the first randomized evidence of a clinical benefit of a novel anti-CD20 monoclonal antibody for patients who are rituximab refractory. The safety profile revealed no new safety findings and was in keeping with what was expected with the combination of drugs. So based on the study results, we would conclude that the combination of obinutuzumab and bendamustine, followed by obinutuzumab maintenance, represents a novel and effective treatment for patients with relapsed and refractory indolent non-Hodgkin lymphoma who are refractory to rituximab. Thank you.